Um, the Ohio Indians were semi-permanent, as opposed to the nomadic Indians of the Western Plains, where they were dependent on following the buffalo herds for their subsistence. A lot of the northeastern woodlands would cultivate an area, grow crops, um, hunt and fish, and then whenever that begin to give out, they would relocate. So tracking Indian and documenting Indian villages was a little bit more difficult because every few years they may relocate. So documenting the transient nature of Indians was a little bit more difficult because they were always in a state of flux. The remains of Indian villages was a lot harder to do, simply because the Indians did not really build permanent settlements in the manner of the Indians down south with their pueblos and in Mexico or in Peru. Generally, their lodgings were willow or ash frames covered with bark stitched together with spruce to make a very comfortable living quarter, but not a long-lasting one. The Indian thoroughfares. They had two main thoroughfares in Ohio, two major ways of travel. One of them was by the waterways. Ohio is blessed with a large numbers of rivers and streams. They run both north and south. Aside from the Ohio River down the southern border, you take a river like the Scioto coming up from Portsmouth till it gets around the Columbus area, and then it gets picked up by the Olentangy and some of the other rivers around there. Those were major thoroughfares. So the rivers, the waterways were the most common during the warmer weather months, but then the Indian trails were the major highways. A lot of them were developed because of trade, because of hunting. One of the major trails through Ohio that ran from the Forks of Ohio, the Fort Duquesne, Fort Pitt, present Pittsburgh area, up to Fort Detroit, or Detroit, present Detroit, was called the Great Trail, and many offshoots of Indian trails connected with the Great Trail. The major north-south trail was probably the Scioto Trail, which traveled up the Scioto River to Columbus, and then essentially the Olentangy up to Sandusky Bay. Then we had the Miami Indians. They started moving into Ohio to escape the French monopoly and to try to take advantage of the more lucrative English trade goods. England had they were the first European country to really capitalize on the Industrial Revolution. So they were able to make goods cheaper, better, and more plentiful. And Indians, like anybody else, are always looking for a good deal. So if they could get trade goods cheaper from the English traders, they want to do that. Well, the French were adverse to that. They certainly didn't want to be having their own trade diluted, because the French, in essence, settled the New World as a business proposition. Whereas the English came over here to colonize, the French came over here essentially to make money. Lenape coming in from the east, the Huron coming in from the north. The Miami Indians started moving into Western Ohio, so that was the third bunch. Then we had the Shawnee again, like I mentioned, came in from the south. And probably the last big influx of Indians into Ohio was the what they call the Mingos. Now, Mingos were essentially Iroquois expatriates. Other than those major tribes, there was quite a few. Ottawa start moving down out of Detroit. They moved into the what's now the Toledo area, down along the Maumee River. Lenape, along with the Shawnee, were probably the most prevalent Indians in Ohio during the 18th century. Ohio, probably one of the more common tribes in Ohio that we're used to is what we call the Delaware Indians. Those are the Lenni Lenape Indians, or what they refer to themselves as Lenape, meaning the people. The destruction of the Erie Indians, which was a very, very powerful tribe in Ohio, by the Iroquois, and essentially Ohio essentially was empty of Indians. Most of the Shawnee at that time, they didn't want to get involved in a war with the Iroquois, so they had a mass exodus to Ohio, and they wandered. They're probably the most traveled Indians in North America. Another one was the Iroquois, or the Huron. The Iroquois Indians launched their war against the Huron in the Beaver Wars, which was essentially who was going to control the beaver fur trade. It was